what brought me to the moment of holy shit, I have to stop. Because my body was changing. I couldn't get an erection with an actual woman. I started to prematurely ejaculate in a way that I had never experienced.
Bryan Reeves, the Air Force captain turned men's coach, opens up about something most men struggle with today.
That I started to realize, okay, my body is tuning to a sexual experience that is totally disconnected from the female body, such that when I'm in the presence of a female body, I can't show up as my best self. I see this happen with a lot of men. What's interesting is a lot of men don't even know that it's affecting their intimacy.
What steps would you say are most effective for men to quit porn?
When I quit, it took me almost 2 years for my body to recover.
I really encourage women who know their partners are going through porn addiction to first of all realize that it's probably not personal.
It's interesting how many angry women show up in the comments. Most women have never felt safe with men.
Yeah, I can agree. You know, it's almost like you are our only predator.
Yeah, wow. Right. Yeah. Men ignore that reality at our own peril.
Recently, I read a study that unfortunately didn't surprise me. It was a study proving that right now, more men than ever in history are addicted to porn. Why do you think so many men in the world right now are getting dominated by porn?
You know, I'll share with you my story because, say I'm 51. When I was in my late 30s. I would use pornography maybe, just to go to sleep at night. Use it for an hour a night just to help me fall asleep. I didn't think much of it. Didn't seem like an exorbitant habit. I wasn't using it during the day, just to help me go to sleep. But I did that for about 2 years. Never thought it was a problem. I was single, right? So there wasn't a woman in the picture that I had to be in conversation with around this. And I had a very healthy sexual appetite. I was 30, 38, 39. But what I started to notice, which is what brought me to the moment of holy shit, I have to stop, was my body was changing. The physiology, like I started to prematurely ejaculate in a way that I had never experienced. It scared the shit out of me. I couldn't get an erection with an actual woman, right? I'd lost that capacity. I was losing that capacity anyway. It scared the shit out of me, right? I'd never had these issues before. And all of a sudden, now I'm starting to have them. And it happened a number of times. And it was mortifying. Not only that, I was starting to get repetitive stress injury in my arm. Like literally, I was injuring myself, just from an hour a day for like 2 years. But it was those experiences with actual women that I started to realize, okay, my body is tuning to a sexual experience that is totally disconnected from the female body.
Yes.
Such that when I'm in the presence of a female body, I can't show up as my best self in that experience, right? And so I see this happen with a lot of men. What's interesting is a lot of men don't even know that it's affecting their intimacy, right? I've had couples come to work with me and they're having sexual disconnections and challenges, and I'll ask them about pornography. And it can be awkward because they're maybe not really talking about it, or they kind of know, but they don't really talk about it, or they have talked about it and it's a source of great conflict, but they haven't resolved anything. And then I'll just ask, have you made the connection that maybe porn is affecting your intimacy? A lot of times they'll sort of get that. I mean, I don't know. Didn't think about it. Okay, interesting, right? Well, let's think about it, right? Let's explore. And so, I mean, you have men that are I was experiencing premature ejaculating, right? So they can't get erections with their female partners. You have men that maybe can get erections but can't ejaculate, right? They're just so used to pleasuring themselves on end and on end and on end for hours, potentially using pornography throughout the day, that when they're with their actual partner, even if they can keep an erection, they can't ever actually ejaculate, right? You have that. You have men also that will in long-term relationships too, I've seen this where because they don't have better relationship skills, when intimacy breaks down, men will use porn as an outlet, right? Even to subconsciously punish their partners potentially. You know what? You don't want to touch me? Fine. I mean, I got women all day long on my phone that'll do whatever I want for as long as I want, right? Yeah. So I think, awareness is one of the first most important things that a man can really take inventory of, like, how is this really affecting my life, right? It's like any addiction. If you don't know it's negatively impacting your life in some way, then you're not going to do anything about it, right? And I'm not here suggesting that, as I said, I'm not anti-porn. I don't think the world should be rid of porn. I don't think no one should ever use porn. I don't think that at all. I think we just have to get honest about what impact might it be having on our lives and relationships.
You said something that stuck with me that's very important, like the awkward moment. Because I do believe that a lot of men don't share that they are consuming porn, even with their wives, not just girlfriends.
Yeah.
It's such a stigmatized thing, and it feels so awkward that they just hide it. Yeah. From your perspective as a woman who held space for me so beautifully in our relationship, knowing what I was going through and am going through, how does this work for you?
It's been a journey, really. I think at the start it threatened me, and I felt like this was personal. I felt like it was somehow dishonesty, disloyalty, and I felt disrespected by it. But then I started to understand that it's not about you trying to go behind my back and do something to hurt me. When it's about actual addiction, and in your case, it was a strong addiction, we are past the topic of infidelity right now. Now we're thinking about someone's brain is hijacked.
Yeah.
Now we're thinking about, how do I make my husband, fiance at the time, feel safe enough to first of all understand what was porn helping him escape? Because there's something that you were going to it for constantly that you were using to mask something else. And so I realized kind of in the middle of it all that if I didn't create safety for you, that you were probably gonna be able to go ahead and do it behind my back anyway. So I leaned in because I also saw you suffering. Yeah. And I know what shame feels like, and I have my own addictions too. So I think I really encourage women who know their partners are going through a porn addiction to first of all realize that it's probably not personal. Yeah. And to second of all, not put ourselves on a pedestal, because I think sometimes we can be a bit self-righteous about this.
I love that you mentioned the long-term side effects that started showing up for you after just 2 years. I love that you mentioned some of the issues that some of the people you work with face. In my case, I discovered porn at 7 years old. And I already started from a tape I found that was quite heavy. And so starting from 7 years old all the way until early 30s, porn was a part of my identity. And I like to compare this to, there's so many different addictions in life for humans, and we can take an addiction of drugs. They affect your brain, your body, maybe your liver starts to weaken as you consume more drugs. When you allow yourself to go too deep into the world of porn, it is almost like you are starting to affect your soul. It goes so deep that you feel this consuming energy around you that no longer interprets everyday world the same way, because you live between two worlds. And it's such a dangerous lifestyle where you are going on like really heavy imagery porn sites and experience things that people shouldn't even see. And then you walk outside, you go to school, you go to meet friends, and you're just this normal guy. I am so confident there are so many people out there, so many men and sometimes women who live in this double world of being so ashamed of what they do, but they are so deep down in the addiction that they are not capable of even entertaining the idea that they can quit.
Right? Yeah, man. Yeah, I really get that for so much of your life, because you're only 36 now, right?
Yes, it's been only a few years now that I managed to move forward with not watching porn anymore. But I already said this before on one of our episodes, and I'll repeat it again because I want men to understand this. When you go into actual genuine porn addiction, you're a porn addict for life. It's the same way as alcoholics say that I am an alcoholic and I've been sober for 20 years. More than ever right now, with the amount of exposure to naked women left and right, you are a porn addict.
You know, I want to two things. I want to speak to something. I want to normalize something around what happens to our brains and how pornography stimulates us, and I also don't want to forget what you just shared a few moments ago, Sonia, about how women, the female regard towards men in their porn use. You know, I've written about porn over the years in my blogs. I've done a lot of videos on it over the years, and it's interesting how many angry women show up in the comments. You know, you said something about the righteous anger. Men are already carrying shame, and it's true. There are a lot of women that just pour the shame on even more. And look, I get it. I get it. You know, in my work as a relationship coach, I'm often reminding men, I don't know about reminding them, I'm often educating men for the first time in their life into the awareness of most women have never felt safe with men.
Yeah, I can agree. I don't feel safe with men in general.
That is something that men need to really understand. That pretty much every woman we come in contact with, and some women will say they've had a different experience, and I honor that. But overwhelming majority of women that I have ever spoken to, that I ever hear from in rooms I've been in where this conversation's come up, the vast majority of women have never really felt safe with men, with the men they grew up with the men they're surrounded by at school, right? Even brothers and cousins and colleagues. And
you know, it's almost like you are our only predator.
Yeah, wow. Right. Yep. I think men ignore that reality at our own peril, right? And so, and I think this is important in this conversation because what happens in the realm of porn, it's another area that so many women just feel dismissed and discarded and devalued, right? Disrespected. You used that word earlier, right? And so regardless of whether or not that's what a man believes he's doing, a lot of men are just like, nah, I'm not disrespecting you. I'm just over here doing my thing, figuratively speaking. And the argument about whether it's disrespectful or not, which would then a lot of couples get caught up in, is it infidelity? Is it this? Is it that? Look, every couple has to find their own way with that. But I think it's of vital importance that men understand that all of this is happening on a foundation of women pretty much never having felt safe with men. And until a man is able to just be with that, and you know, and without the protest, but not me. I've never made a woman feel unsafe. I always have good intentions. I have a good heart. I've always meant well. Okay, buddy. I get it. I'm talking to my old self because this was my narrative. I got 3 sisters and 2 moms. Like, I'm the best dude a woman could ever hang out with.
Yeah, honestly, those are definitely helpful parameters.
That's a lot of experience.
And still, though, I didn't know how. I didn't even know it was a thing that my female partners required a certain capacity from me to be able to help them feel emotionally safe. Nobody ever fucking taught me that was a thing, that was for me to offer. I didn't even know it was a thing. You know, so I'm a good guy. I mean well. I have a good heart. You know, I would never hit a woman. I would never, you know, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And meanwhile, you know, why are my girlfriends so angry all the fucking time? You know, I often say this, like men often dismiss women as crazy. But what men don't realize is women are often only crazy because men are fucking clueless.
It's true.
Yeah, I totally have been through that chapter in my life.
Yeah, bless you,
I have
babe.
been
You
through
have.
that chapter in my life.
Bless you. Yeah, you have.
And look, to some degree, I'm still clueless.
How
But
do you
aren't we
un-
all?
How do you
To some degree, we are all clueless.
Right. Just today, I think I shared before we were recording, just today I had to apologize for
To
something.
your wife?
To my wife.
Yeah.
We're 10 years together. I had to apologize today for something. Take my deep breath. Even though I didn't fully agree with all the things, it's irrelevant. I know that if I don't hold myself in a certain way, if I don't speak to her with a certain tone of voice, if I don't breathe through my own resistance and my own stuff, that all I'm going to be doing is showing her, here's another man she's not safe with in this moment.
This is such a powerful realization that unfortunately sometimes turns into putting the blame on women.
Oh, always turns into
Why
that. Yeah.
are you like this?
Always
Why
turns
are
into-
you
yeah.
scared? Yeah.
Because think about this, when on a very primal level, when a man walks into a room that's full of people, that man is assessing the room for two things, essentially. Who might I need to fight, and who could I fuck? Fuck or fight. That's all a man is on a primal level. I'm not talking about the human brain part, the part
Conscious
of us,
part
the
and
conscious,
the-
the part of us capable of complex thinking and culturally what's going on here. Is there art here? Is there? I'm not talking about that
Yeah, we
part.
totally understand.
On a primal level, just the amygdala, the old lizard brain, that's assessing safety.
Yep.
Safety and survival. Typically, only if a guy is bigger than me, my size are bigger, or at least I perceive him to be, then he's a threat. I might have to fight him. It's just, put that in the back of my mind, right? And then, the fucking part, that's just a whole other thing. Doesn't matter. But that's the only thing. For safety, is there anyone I have to fight in here? Everyone looks pretty safe. I can relax. A woman walks into that room, she can never relax because everyone in that room is a potential threat to her safety.
Including other women.
Including other women.
other women.
Including
Absolutely.
sometimes even especially other women.
Yes.
So again, I think it's of such vital importance that we men get that and understand that. And even though, the whole hashtag not all men, I'm not like that. Okay, but you know what? To a woman's primal nervous system, her primal body, her amygdala, her am I safe, am I not safe question that she's asking on a very subconscious level every single second, you're still a threat, a potential threat. So, I say all this, we're talking about, pornography and
to bring
all that
this
comes
back,
up.
I would want to ask you,
Yeah.
if someone out there is trying to move forward in life and perhaps leave this behind, maybe not fully, maybe put it under control and not let it define, because let's be honest, there are so many side effects to porn that are just practical for men, right?
Sure.
The hours you spend, you could be putting into your self-development.
Yeah.
The amount of time you're thinking about
Yeah.
doing it, you could put into going to the gym and so on. It is a detrimental thing if it's not under control.
Sure.
What steps would you say are most effective for men to quit porn?
To fold into that answer, I want to share, there's this fascinating study that a Dutch biologist named Nicolaas, I always mess up his last name, Nicolaas, I think Tinbergen, something like
Sounds very right.
that. Very, very Dutch.
Tinbergen.
Tinbergen. Okay, I think that's right. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1973 for his work on studying animal behavior patterns. And he coined this term called supernormal stimuli. Supernormal, right? So what is normal but exaggerated stimuli. And this is what he did. He created these cardboard cutouts of a female butterfly. And he painted them colors, vibrant colors, way more vibrant than a species of female butterfly would normally be in the wild.
Right.
And then he introduced male butterflies into this setting where these cardboard, super colorful female butterflies, cardboard were, right? And he moved them around in my brain. It's funny. I've never seen the experiment. I've never seen a video.
visualize
I visualize
it.
it on a stick. Him holding a stick, bouncing these cardboard butterflies. I'm sure that's not how he did it.
Yeah. But that's the visual in my head too
Let's
now.
just keep it like that. It's
Yeah,
great.
it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. Your cardboard butterfly stick. Anyway, the males tried to mate with those cardboard cutouts that were very colorful. Okay, right. He did that for a time, and then he introduced female butterflies into that same scene. So you have female butterflies, male butterflies, and then these cardboard cutouts. And remember, the cardboard cutouts are moving more than the actual females, and they're more colorful than the actual females. The males continued to try to mate with the cardboard females, ignored the actual females. Right? It's called supernormal stimuli. Think in human bodies, like women getting fake boobs, for example, or lip fillers, for example, or I think in men an equivalent of that is often like wearing big fat watches, showing off wealth, getting a fancy car even though he's got no money in the bank. This is sort of, again, on a very primal level we're talking here, primal drive for resource and procreation success, right? But over time, what happens with pornography, we're showing ourselves these images. And by the way, in terms of long-term relationship, women in porn never grow up. They never get older. Not if you don't want them to.
I know.
They stay the same age. You can have a 22-year-old habit as long as you want to. Whereas if you're in a long-term relationship, your partner's getting older, her body's changing, maybe you have children and her body changes. Like, that's a normal journey in life.
Human experience.
It's the human experience, right? And meanwhile, though, if a man is paying attention to whatever his habit on porn, and he's with a human woman that can't possibly measure up to whatever that is, that disconnect is, again, it's going to wreak havoc if you don't manage it properly, right? And I believe it can be managed, but I think that for most people, the first step is complete abstinence for an extended period of time. It took me, and as I said, I wouldn't even say I had like a raging porn habit. 2 years for an hour a day. That's smartphone porn. Look, I was using magazines and everything else you could in the years prior. But something about smartphone porn and videos, just next video.
Like watching YouTube.
It's
and you start getting in random places you wouldn't even think of.
Tuning my body in that way. When I quit, and I was 39, I think. Yeah, probably about 39. It took me almost 2 years for my body to recover.
Wow.
2 years from going, cold turkey to feeling like, ooh, I kind of got my back my old self now.
What happens after you go cold turkey?
Well, let's talk about that, right? And let's talk about...
Yeah, let's explain to men how they can approach this to not fail. Because it's very dangerous to fail quitting over and over again until you lose hope that you're capable.
Yeah. And one thing that I want to speak to, so, I quit cold turkey and I did it alone. I'm trying to remember, was I writing about it at that time? I think that I was, because I've been blogging since 2008. Because the reason I'm asking myself that question, reflecting on it, is because even though I did it alone, in a way I kind of didn't do it alone. I was very public about what I was experiencing and going through. I went on what I call a sex, dating, hunting, flirting, and hoping diet.
Wow.
There's a lot of words there. But basically, I saw how much I was using women, feminine energy to fill a hole in me that was never getting filled, right? And porn was just one aspect of that, right? And so, and I did that very publicly. What I did, though, is I created accountability for myself. I created witnessing and accountability.
Right.
And this is when I think when a lot of men try to quit porn, they don't get witnessing from another trusted person because of the shame, because of the taboo. A buddy, look, there are apps that support men in doing this, men's groups, right? I professionally run men's groups where we tackle these kind of sabotaging behaviors. Even just a trusted friend right? Sometimes guys are having conversations. They do know about each other's habit, you know, and it's like, dude, you want to quit that? Because I want to quit that. I'm not liking it. Let's set up a buddy system. That witnessing, having someone else, you know, to witness, like, I see you, and witness without shame. You know, I think, you know, I've seen, just sort of side note, I think especially in religious communities, there's so much shaming.
Yes.
I've had friends be obliterated.
Oh no.
By religious, that kind of religious context of how, you know, it's not just even just masturbation, but sex in general, right? That is so unhelpful. Same with the partner, you know, the angry, hurt partner. Look, your hurt and your pain is understandable. And though holding that in righteous regard and that shaming regard isn't going to serve the relationship or anything.
Not gonna help.
It's
You're
not
gonna
help.
move forward from
And
there.
it's something really powerful to be that accountability buddy for your partner. Like until today, I've told him that if for whatever reason there is an urge and you give in, know that you're safe to come and tell me. And I think that is something he has told me. Like, I've literally seen his literal body relax.
Yeah.
I've seen it with my own eyes when he heard that.
Because you know why? It's because through that openness, I realized that I'm not broken. Knowing that what I've been through is not fully my fault, because a kid at 7 years old doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And by the time you're 20, you slowly starting to understand even the word addiction. And you are so deep into it and you don't know how to heal it. And then you start giving it up, and then it comes back into your life when things get hard, when you're broke, when your success is not working out, when your dreams are getting shattered and people tell you that you suck. Where you go? You go to that comfort place in the closed room where no one sees, and you have an emotional and physical release. So you opening the door on like, hey, you have this problem, but it doesn't mean that you are broken. You can share it with me. We can work through this together. When you express that idea, only then did I really start believing that, you know what? I need to quit. Because when I met her, I was already at a path when I would say my porn consumption was on the healthy side. So I would only go like once every 2 weeks. It was no longer what it once was, which was every day, and I would think about it. I was career oriented, and I somehow managed to, in some ways, move away from being addicted. But I started realizing that was her boundary. She once spoke to me and she said that she sees porn like cheating. And in my head at that time was like, I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
It's also because everyone has different exposure. Some partners will encourage you to watch porn together, for example. Oh, yeah. And some women will say, this is not okay for me. And as a man, you honor that.
You know, from a woman's standpoint, porn, especially women that are not in the porn scene, they're not consuming porn as much. And it's, you know, women do as well, but much less.
And they often consume a different kind of porn.
Yes.
Much more emotionally
much
connecting.
more, you know, they go down the ethical porn route, for example. There's like, exactly. What has started to happen is that there is a disconnect, because a lot of times the kind of porn that some man is consuming, he might not realize that's not how sex works. That's not how I turn my partner on. And so I'm not speaking about you, in just general, when women go in and they want to have sex and they want to be intimate, I want you to touch my heart and then I'll open my legs for you, right? For men, they want you to open your legs first. And a lot of times...
And a lot of women do that because...
Sure. And a lot of times, however, to your point about men making women feel unsafe, whether or not they intend to, when we catch something strange in the bedroom, a lot of times men don't know how to ask, can I try this with you? And so you're in bed and suddenly you get slapped.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And you start because you're also new to it, and you're like, is my man supposed to slap me, or in the bed is it okay? A lot of things. So depending on how far a man has gone, and the parts of the internet that he's gone to, where men are telling them what women like potentially, which maybe is true for some women, definitely not true for all.
Yeah.
We start associating sex with terrifying grounds. So instead of feeling like this is a moment where I can lean in and connect with my partner and like have soulful sex, which is my personal favorite kind, I got my guard up. This is a threat. I'm in survival mode. My heart is beating. I am disconnected. I don't know what the fuck is going on. So while I do agree that women, once we understand that, the prefrontal cortex of the man is not working the same way, his limbic system is screwed, you start to realize, okay, it's not really about me. There are things that he can't help that are happening right now, and so let me create safety. As much as I really would like women to do that for their partners that are suffering from porn addiction, I also want to speak to the fact that it is really a couple's problem. Yeah. You go through a lot as also being the partner of someone who might have a porn addiction, or just being the partner of someone who doesn't know how to talk about what he wants in bed and just imposes it upon you.
Yeah, I mean, this is. There's so many layers to this conversation.
Of course.
There's even as you were talking, I'm thinking of there's you've heard the term manosphere. There's a whole world of what I don't like the term toxic masculinity. I use instead terms like shallow masculinity or adolescent masculinity.
That better too.
Very adolescent masculinity. Adolescent masculinity is very black and white. Things are this way or that way, right? You either win the game or you lose the game. You either get the girl or you lose the girl, right? It's you either conquer or you're conquered, right? And so much of adolescent masculinity is about the attainment of power.
Right.
And you have, the man that everyone knows, Andrew Tate, promising these, I remember seeing him say once, demonstrating what a man he was, because he could crush his own bones in his own fingers. Like he could squeeze his fist so hard that he could crush his own. I was like, that's your mastery of manhood? You can crush your own fingers with your own, like, that is so ridiculous. That is the thing a child would say.
Yeah.
Right? And it is. I mean, that's an adolescent's version of manhood. And it's same. It's about, how can I perform? I'm going to show her, the sexual experience is not really about being with her, attuning to my partner. It's about showing what a fucking man I am. Yeah. Pound her into oblivion. I mean, I've had, female friends of mine say some of the things that guys have said to them. It was one guy he's even a popular teacher. I'm not going to out him on this podcast, but he said to her at an event, he had a girlfriend, and he said to my friend, he was like, I would fuck you so hard. If I didn't have a girlfriend, I would fuck you so hard you couldn't walk the next day. Whoa. And my friend came back to me. She's kind of laughing like that. First off, I like walking.
Yeah.
Why are you going to fuck me so hard I can't walk?
Yeah.
I don't want to not be able to walk after sex. Right? And we kind of laughed about it and chuckled. It's like,
I think a lot of men who preach that type of masculinity that you mentioned, they have been denied. And somehow they shifted the responsibility and the blame on the women. Women are like this when I am a nice guy. I've tried. I got her flowers. I was kind. I never looked at another girl, and I would be consistent in the friend zone. Or the love of my life decided to cheat on me, maybe. And that is the story of like a villain in a movie. So in the case of a man, he goes through this experience, and now he goes into the cliche knowledge that nice guys finish last and women love red flags. Right. And what happens next? Because our society is so conditioned in the women world as well, it actually works.
You attract what you believe, though.
A lot of women will actually work around this because they think that's how this whole dating world works. Yeah. It feels like in this world of, for lack of a better word, women haters and men who try to be more, in their feminine, masculine, try to be more spiritual and so on. It's such a strong division. I would love to bridge that gap a bit and talk to men who really they're hurt. I'm sure you, as a coach, as men's coach, you had many men like this come to you, right?
I work with this all the time, and this really falls in the domain of like where I would work with a man in that regard is around the mother wound. The mother wound, and I'm speaking archetypally, right? But many men grow up either having been emotionally abandoned by mom or emotionally overwhelmed by mom, right? Turned into the surrogate, at least emotionally, lover of their mothers, right? A lot of boys grow up where mom kind of uses them for emotional support because dad's checked out, right? So a lot of boys grow up with a very painful wounding around the feminine, you could say. And yes, the adolescent answer to that wounding is to fucking dominate. Rise up and crush whatever, lest you be crushed. Conquer lest you be conquered. That is the mother wound in action in a man. So, and the nice guy, as you were saying, like the nice guy, that's a form of persona as well, where he's still trying to manipulate for mommy's love.
Thank you for saying that as well.
Yeah.
The nice guy sometimes is also a mask that someone's put on. And then they realize, hey, my manipulative strategy is not working. And then they get pissed off. It's not like sometimes he's not actually a nice guy.
Right.
He just was playing the part.
Yeah, it's a persona, right? There's nothing wrong with being nice, but when it's a subconscious strategy to get something, to get approval, to get belonging, to get validation, to get affection, to get whatever, it's a persona, and it's also it's the mother wound at play, right? And so this is, as a men's coach, I've been really specializing for the last 5 years or so and really doing men's work and working with men. This is one of the core things that we face, but also the father wound. We haven't even talked about that, but the mother wound and our relationship to the overwhelm of life. That again, the adolescent boy who hasn't really matured into manhood, he meets the overwhelm of life not in a dance, but in a fight, at war, right? And again, the nice guy will use his deception to win that war. The tyrant uses domination to win that war, right? But what maturity looks like is realizing there's no war here. We're not actually at war. It's not a real thing, right? We're just kind of coming back into the human aspect of things. We're just people trying to find our way. You all are a young married couple just trying to figure out how do we create something beautiful together, and it's messy, but that's maturity. That's now we're stepping into adulthood when it's like, okay, and I want to be careful. We can be off and running into a whole other rabbit hole here. But I think, in the context even of using porn, I love, Sonia, that you had that breakthrough realization that he's not doing this to you.
Yeah.
Even if it can feel like that, it feels personal. It hurts. It still hurts.
Yeah.
But maturity, that's what maturity recognizes, that, okay, yes, it hurts.
And not but.
I remember when you told me.
Right.
And
not but.
I remember this like today because I was the bad guy.
Yeah.
I would just always build up and then I said bad. And then you said me about the end and I was like, this is a mastery of conversation in this case.
Two realities that are differing can be happening simultaneously and are equally valid.
Exactly. Before we move, I think looking at what is happening with AI in the world,
Ooh, yeah.
We are right now at a time when men truly have not much time left to quit porn before it's too late. And why do I say that? We already have AI tools that are not visually advanced yet, but they are already advanced with what they say. The whole AI Grok app has an 18+ app, like a chatbot, of an anime girl, and it has no censorship. So you can say anything you want to it, like write a prompt, a story, and she's gonna start talking to you around that story.
So she's like dirty talking to you.
She can say anything you want. You can tell her the darkest stuff, and she's
Right.
gonna start telling you this story.
Yeah.
Why do I believe we are close to this is going to be detrimental and it's going to be the next phase of porn? Because when you match this word power and the mind power, intellectual power of AI, and you add to these visuals, which I believe we really are just like 2-3 years away from.
Yeah.
If a man at that point just has a mild little porn life right now, not a huge addiction, but here we are, the next moment appears, right? The next step in pornography is going to be a woman that looks exactly how you want her to look. You prompt exactly what you want her to do. It's going to be your personal cam girl that you can design in any way you want to look like and to act like. And when a man is faced with something this powerful and he doesn't have this under control, well, this is gonna be definitely the next level of addiction.
You said something earlier. I think you said it while we were recording, that this woman, her boundaries, her sensitivities, her way of being in the world has helped. You didn't use these exact words, but
it did help.
Maybe you
yes.
did, but it helped bring you. What I want to say is, it helped bring you into your greatness as a man.
100%.
And when we're able to dial down her sensitivity, dial down the complaining, I believe when a man can start to just tweak, you're a little, be a little more critical. Oh, but not, that's too critical. I want you to see my faults, but not too much. And start. What that absolutely will do is enable men to stay in their adolescent way of being. That much is undeniable. What becomes of that, God only knows. I mean, look, we're already a world being run by overwhelmingly adolescent men, psychologically speaking.
And that creates even more lack of safety for women. And so as a species, as a community, as humans, it's terrifying.
Yeah, I agree. I have great concern for men, especially, and for women. Just in the subject we're talking about.
Yeah, that's why talking about it is so important.
I have great concern.
I always am so surprised that a subject that, according to study in the US, 91% of men consume porn annually. That was the stat. So I don't know what they mean by annually.
Could be once a year,
but obviously it's more, right? So if almost every single man you walk by on the streets is watching porn, why aren't we talking about it? I don't often hear men share their struggles. And it's so beautiful that we can come together today. And going into this conversation, I didn't know you're going to share something, I also want to thank you for opening up about your chapter, because it shows that just as there are so many different types of people, there are also many different types of experiences within how men can get addicted or have different points of view.
Yeah.
But having that realization of the women's perspective and where are we headed really with that concept, with how porn is soon gonna be the best it has ever been and the next level. This is not a very popular belief, but I always felt like for a man to control his sexual desires, it actually makes a man a man. We have this mentality in our field that the guy who's just like so sexual and fucks as many women as possible, that is the man. In my world, in my view, why have we built this mentality that a woman who is not like opening up too much is valuable and a guy on the opposite is valuable because he had so many women?
Well, I don't remember who said this. I heard this years ago. I don't remember who said it, but he said it so beautifully. Any man can love lots of women. Oh, I think it was Julio Iglesias, the singer. Any man can love lots of women. It takes a real man to love one woman for a lifetime. And I think what I want to say about porn and whether a man decides to really take this on in himself, I think if you want to have a relationship with a human woman, and I say that because these days you don't really have to.
Yeah.
But if you want to be in partnership with a human woman, if porn is present, you need to take a serious look at how that's impacting, whether she knows about it or not. Or even if you want to have a relationship with a woman in the future, maybe you're single now and you think porn is just a good stopping point. It's just sort of to tide you over. Beware, right? That supernormal stimuli that you're giving yourself. When a human woman enters the picture, she might be great for a weekend, but very quickly you're going to run into the big gap between her human self. You know, a human woman, she can't make love all the time, whenever you want, right? Sometimes she may have pain. She may just not be in the mood, whatever, right? Porn, always available. My Akashic records of porn women, always available. Never say no, right? You're going to run into those gaps. And so one of the great benefits of not using porn is you start to reprogram your brain back to kind of a more human reality. When we're watching porn, we are building neural pathways in the brain that attune us just like those male butterflies to be drawn to cardboard cutouts. And look, some men are going to content themselves with that. That's just, some men are going to content themselves with sex robots. And again, who am I to say that that's bad or they shouldn't? It's not for me to say. But if you want to have a relationship with a human woman, porn probably has no place in that experience, at least not until you have a really healthy sexual experience. And if you were to reintroduce porn, that you both do it consensually and carefully, thoughtfully.
Why have you chosen to be in a relationship with a human woman instead of that Akashic records on your phone? How has it served you?
I've always, since I was younger, I always knew that I'm not here on the planet to sell Coca-Cola, or to just do, I'm here to do soul work.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what that meant for a long time. Even when I was in the military, I knew it was part of the reason why the military was so painful for me, because I knew that my service, I was here. I mean, I'm talking about I'm 21 years old. 30 years ago, I was like, I'm here to say something. I'm here to the way that I languaged at the time was to help broaden, awaken humanity's consciousness. I had no idea what that meant. I just knew there's something here that I need to share, and I'm not going to do it in the military. The military wouldn't let me. It's not even the mission. And part of that awakening to consciousness, awakening to love. I'm getting just go get poetic here. To help humanity awaken to love, awaken to greater expressions of our full capacity. All of that. Being in relationship with a woman has been the best school for me to genuinely step into being that man. Because it's so fucking easy to run around with my, hey world, consciousness, and have you thought about this, and love, and when I'm a single man, going from woman to woman to woman, who's not holding me accountable, not being held accountable, getting, it's just so easy. The Peter Pan syndrome, just flying from here to there and sprinkling, dust. I think his fairy does that, but whatever, there's a little, but she's a fairy. She's not a human woman, right? She's just a little side fairy. It's the Peter Pan life, and you don't never grow up. We don't want adults around here, right? The world needs mature men that are connected to heart, that our hearts are connected to our brains and our balls. The world needs men that can bring the fullness of what it means to be a mature human into being. And relationship is not easy, as y'all know. I like to call
work.
I like to call it heart work.
Heart work.
It's heart work.
True.
Right?
That's beautiful.
But it holds me accountable to my highest self in a way that I wouldn't hold myself accountable without my wife. I just wouldn't.
It creates so much space for actual growth. I would love to see your mystery item?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because this will transition perfectly to speaking a little bit about your really unique story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Military.
Yeah. So what have you brought for us today?
This is a piece of what's called bogwood. I found it in just this gorgeous, gorgeous valleys or these places that you go to that just where you can really feel the timelessness of existence. And the reason that I brought this, and the reason that I think this is really important, one of my mentors, Francis Weller, he wrote a beautiful book called The Wild Edge of Sorrow. The Wild Edge of Sorrow. One of the most beautiful books I've ever read about grief and healing. And my wife and I, the last 5 years have been really hard for us in terms of just we've experienced a lot of upheaval, a lot of loss, a lot of grief. And Francis Weller, he tells this story about when he started working with his therapist, and he's a therapist, and early in his journey, his therapist brought a big rock and put it on the table in their first session. And he said something to the effect of, when we do this work, we're not operating at human speed. We're operating at Earth speed, geologic time. We're in no rush, right? Healing, wholeness isn't something that happens overnight, right? It happens, it's like the soul's work happens over time. In our modern society, we want everything so fast. Again, pornography immediately available, sexual gratification immediately available. I want to post my Instagram picture and get 1,000 likes so I can feel good about myself, or have everyone enroll in my big program and sell the shit out, whatever. I want it now. And I love pieces like this because, I'm 50, I'm 51, and your ambitions change as you age. There's this beautiful thing that the poet David White said about ambition. He said, ambition is really a word for the young, because it can get you to the horizon, but it doesn't get you beyond the horizon. And I think that's one of the great tragedies of our modern existence is everyone just wants, again, instant gratification. We want to get to stand on the pinnacle, on the mountain peak, and get there as quickly as possible, and then just stay there. And that's not how life works. It doesn't work that way. It's cyclical. There was a time when this also was a living tree. Now it's a fossil of sorts. It's on its death cycle, and yet it's still here to inspire.
What I found fascinating about your journey in life, you were highly accomplished as an Air Force captain. And yet at that time you said you felt dead inside.
Yeah.
We as men have such a strong identity connected to our achievements.
Yeah.
Totally.
So we follow that ambition, right? And we get to the horizon.
Yeah.
And when the horizon appears in front of us, we look back and we're like, what now? And if you don't know where to go, what happens next? And I've seen it over and over again. I'm very fortunate to have quite a vast world of people from all walks of life. And I have seen a lot of successful people who genuinely have almost no enjoyment of the success they are having. How have you got here? You are emotional. You are open. You feel into your heart, into your depth. You are not a, conventional adolescent man, right?
For sure.
But you went from an extreme life of an Air Force captain to this. How did it appear in your life?
Well, it's a great question, and thank you for that honoring as well. I just want to say I'm just laughing too, because when you talked about your friend that can't celebrate anything, my business partner and I, who's my childhood best friend of 40 years.
Oh wow!
And we co-lead our men's work together. Whenever a new man enrolls in one of our courses, our programs, he'll FaceTime me and he'll just give me this look, and he'll start to dance.
That's so cute.
and I'll give him the look back and be like, I was like, is it a big dance or a little dance? Because we had different programs. Like, what dance we do? He's like, He's like, it's a big dance, you know. And look, the reason we do that is because neither one of us wants to celebrate the success either. Like many men, we just want to be on the next thing. Check, next thing. And there is a suffering in that. And it's hard. I can feel the rigidity of my body. I don't want to dance. But he gives me that look, and it's like, you know, I'll just do the little, okay, you know.
I love that so much. I love that so much.
It's the best. It's a good
So
tradition.
you're consciously making the effort to do that. Yeah.
Oh, in our men's work, celebration is one of the key tenets of accountability. Right? We talk about there's 4 tenets. One is witness each other, challenge each other, support each other, and celebrate each other. Right, those are the 4 tenets of accountability that in my men's work. So celebration is key, and it's often one of the most difficult. Right. So anyway, I want to share that because that came up for me. I'll tell you, man. There's been so many. I've been really blessed to just be touched by so many people throughout my life who gave me gifts. Even, you know, my own father, I'm estranged from my father. I haven't talked to him in 3 years, but I haven't really had a relationship with him in about 25 years. And I've done a lot of therapy around that. You know, my own father wounds. I've done so much work around that, and I'm very much at peace with it. That's a heartbreak I carry, but I'm at peace with it. And part of my being at peace with it is recognizing the gift that my dad gave me. You know, one of the gifts he gave me was teaching me to question everything, right? He gave me the gift of questioning, you know, looking beyond. I mean, even his wife, she also gave me the gift of kind of learning to see beneath the veil, beyond the obvious. You know, I've had so many teachers in my life, whether they were friends, that just gifted me these little things, and I was paying attention, you know, and I often maybe didn't realize, and I'll tell you, especially with women, girlfriends, the ones that meant the most to me, that also, you know, which I suffered the most, also gave me the greatest gifts that at the time I would have thought, this is bullshit. I don't want this. Whatever this is, I don't want this. But with time and introspection and the you know, and the desire to learn and grow, being able to look back and, oh my God, wow, what a teacher she was for me. You know, I have a healthy marriage with my wife, Sylvie, because of the mistakes that I made in the past and my commitment to learning from them, my commitment to not making it their fault, right? They had their role to play, sure. But if I'm only focusing on that, there's no growing up happening here. You know,
why did you do that? Why did you make that decision? Because I'm sure it's not easy to become a captain at freaking Air Force. You must have worked so hard for it. And then you changed an entire direction of your career to be almost like the opposite in some ways to...
Well, see, it's interesting because that wasn't a choice. I remember when I was separating from the Air Force, I was 26. I'd been in for 10 years.
Wow.
And I remember where a lot of my friends that would separate, they'd go from working in the Air Force to working for a big defense contractor. You know, probably get paid twice as much for maybe even less work. I don't know. Friday, they'd be in the military. Monday, they'd be working for Boeing or Rockwell or Lockheed Martin or something. And I got an offer, I think, from Lockheed Martin. I remember the boss of Lockheed Martin came to me and was like, I got a job for you. And I remember in my brain thinking, there's no fucking way I'm taking your job. Thank you. No fucking way. That path to me looked like death. And again, I speak to this as like my soul. My soul was calling me somewhere. My soul was calling me out of this comfort zone. And I think all people feel that. I think that for whatever reason, you know, look, I wasn't married at the time. I didn't have kids. I didn't have obligations. You know, I had these other people teaching me to question, to maybe don't walk the path that everyone walks. You know, and so I say it's like there was a lot of things that were just like that choice. It wasn't, you know, I've had people applaud me for doing that. And I'm like, look, you don't understand. I didn't choose that. I had no fucking choice. That path was death. I didn't know what was down that path. And I'll tell you, 30 days after I got out of the military, I went backpacking. I was in North Wales. I had a total nervous breakdown in a phone booth in North Wales because I was like, I don't know who I am anymore. I was terrified. This is 2001. There was no
soul searching.
There was no Instagram. There was no Instagram. I couldn't blog my trip.
Right.
I couldn't vlog what I was doing. No, there were payphones and cyber cafes. That's all you had. I didn't know who I was anymore, and I was terrified. And I knew I couldn't go back. I just couldn't. But I didn't know where to go forward either. Every person on the road to adulthood has to cross that chasm of you inherit all of these ideas from your family, your culture, who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to be, right? What you're supposed to aspire to. And for some people, maybe walking in that path is very true for them. It is their soul's calling to be the doctor that mom wants them to be. But I think that until a person goes through the questioning and really sits in that in-between space of like, is this really what I'm supposed to do? And they really allow themselves. And it is a terrifying silence when you really go there. It's a terrifying silence because you don't have an answer at first, right? It's like letting go of what was, but I don't know what is to be. And I think what happens to a lot of people is they get to an advanced age, get to their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they haven't really given themselves to that. I call it the chasm.
Yeah.
They haven't crossed the chasm because it's scary. And these days you don't really have to.
It's out of ordinary to go there with your mind and accept the fact that you may need to go against your conditioning, right?
Just honor my mind has always been committed to getting the lesson.
Yeah.
What is the lesson for me in this?
Gosh, I feel you.
Right? No matter what is happening, I am committed to figuring out how can this serve me, serve my family, serve the people around me, and even when I can't see it. And I can go years without seeing it. But doesn't mean I don't know on some level it's there.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the most uncomfortable thing, to sit in that not knowing for a time. But it makes all the difference.
To close this, I would love you to just send one message to men out there. Based on your experience, the main struggle that we are facing, what would be that final note?
I think what men really need to hear, I think men need permission to be messy. We need permission to not get it right all the time, to not be perfect. We need permission to not know what we're doing. I think there's so much pressure on men, both self-imposed and externally imposed, that we have to know what we're doing. We got to know how to solve the problems. We got to know how to make the money, know how to make the relationship amazing. And it's exhausting. And the reality is we don't know. Often we don't know. And I think it serves men well. It's one of the things I love about doing men's group, is because when men come into group, it's one thing even to work privately, just one-on-one, like with a coach or a therapist. And that's wonderful. And that there's great benefit from that. But when you get into a group of other men and like, one of the things that I'm a big stand for is, facilitating the conversations that we men need to be having in ways that are both safe and dangerous. Safe in the sense that no judgment, no trying to fix each other, no trying to solve each other's problems, just witnessing, right? One of those witnessing each other, challenging only when it's invited, challenging respectfully and only when invited, supporting in the ways that a man wants to be supported, and celebrating. Right? Celebrating, just showing up. Right? So two of the hardest things for men to do is to show up and speak up in their relationships, in the world, and show up and speak up with an authentic voice, and then keep showing up and keep speaking up. When men come together in a group and they start, one of the first things I always hear is, you mean I'm not the only one that has this problem? Oh, what a relief. right? We haven't even done any like coaching or distinctions or no, just witnessing the relaxation that comes into a man's body. Like, fuck, I thought I was the only one that was struggling with porn. I thought I was the only one who had an angry wife that I didn't know how to make happy, right? I thought I was the only one that, you know, actually makes a decent living, but feels financially insecure all the time. Like when men start to hear from other men, nah, brother, me too. I get you.
Relax.
It's so healing, just that, right? And that's that permission to let it be messy.
Nice. That's a great final message. Allow ourselves to be messy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing.